some kind of studio camera, which again, like I said, I went.
So it's like one of the bigger.
Yes. Yeah. Over your shoulder and.
With the full-fledged.
Yeah, which I have no idea. I went, from 2021 is a huge learning curve, so it's just, I don't know why they call it a curve. It should be like a slope. I mean, and it never curves.
How's all that going with the Rick's Mix community radio?
Going real good.
All things local.
Yeah, no. Again, it's something new, it's something novel, but as I think it was Quentin that talked about, pivoting, and a friend of ours, Marisol, she gave me some words of inspiration of to adapt and redirect, and so that's what I've been doing. So going from terrestrial radio to online streaming radio, it's more people out there, but it's deeper waters, and plus it's where everybody's streaming, no pun intended.
Right.
And so that's a learning curve for me. And then doing what you're doing, which is combining the visuals
Right.
In a podcast visual way to help the community and businesses as well as nonprofits. That's where everybody's at. I mean, even our cameramen here are looking at their phones. They're not looking at their cameras, right? So
Shout out to the camera guys.
No. So it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And it's a learning curve for the market as well.
Right.
So it's
We had the same thing. We went from had a guy that was doing videos. I was fine and fixing to jumpstart stuff, and then he moves, and I'm right in the middle of some commitments. So it's like I've either got to try to go find a video guy, or I got to invest in equipment, and I end up doing both. And so it's been a learning curve as well, because I mean, this is the platform. If we have another COVID breakdown, this is the only way to get the message out again.
even if we don't have a COVID breakdown, people have already transitioned.
That's the way it is.
So I mean, it's like, why should anybody wake up today and say, you know what, I'm going to start listening to my favorite country radio station or XYZ radio station, unless that station's successfully marketing themselves, active and involved, and combining the social media platforms. Nobody knows about them. So people know about this, and with or without another shutdown, breakdown, this is where people are at.
What do you think the trajectory of radio? Do you think it's kind of a dying breed, or?
Very much so.
Yeah.
However, only because the people let it. You know what I mean? If you sit back, the analogy I make, in the early 80s, they had the big three in Detroit. When I say Detroit, what comes to your mind? Prosperity, ivory palaces, etc.?
Yeah,
this is 2021. No. But in 1980, all the big three, GM, Ford, and Chrysler, thought business was great because they were all up in their the business towers, seeing all three products down there. But nobody was seeing what was coming in off on the coast in California.
Right.
From Datsun, which became Nissan and Honda, and so anyway, where's Detroit now? So traditional radio, same thing. If you sit inside and think people are listening without getting out involved and getting engaging,
Sure. Building that, putting the face with the content and
putting the feet on the street,
building the brand,
and you can speak pretty good behind a microphone, but if you're not out there with the heart of the matter and the heart of the community, it's just talk.
Which is Rick Godley in a nutshell, in my opinion.
Right.
If that's all Rick Godley is. Yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Just being involved in the community,
okay.
About the community. That's because you, even when you were doing the radio thing, you were always trying to find ways to be involved and get out there. That's what I always loved about you. You really truly are about about the community. So now to see you kind of take the bull by the horns, and now you've got kind of your own platform.
Well, think about how simple that is to do.
Sure.
Because in the homogenization of America, be it from the interstate to the radio airwaves to the network, it's all formatted. So my audience doesn't need to hear some canned laughter of a Hollywood couple doing this and that without knowing that Ronnie Walker just got out of the hospital,
Right.
or there's another ribbon cutting, or there's a new T-shirt down at Cotton Top about Driscoll Mountain. You know what I mean? And so if you just put the mic light, if you will, and then also the camera lights on the people, now you have some relevant content, and people getting the information out rather than blandly entertaining people with drivel.
Yeah, I think it's kind of apples to apples to what sort of our vision was. Is how can we just provide a platform that shows off and highlights other people, whether it be talking about their journey or their story or what they have going on. So it's just been sort of just like you, we just dove in head first and kind of rolling with the punches and figuring it out on the fly.
Right,
So it's,
right.
And
right.
I talked to you early on before we even, I guess I think the other camera guy was even still involved remotely, and then we had to pump the brakes a little bit until we figured out what that was going to look like on the camera side. But I was like, wow. First off, I didn't want to step on any toes, because we sort of were doing the same thing, even though there's a little bit different approach. But at the end of the day, it was trying to show off and highlight what was going on locally, and I guess kind of expected with you just being like a team player and all about, we talk about it, high tide raises all ships, and that you're 100% just principally that's how you operate. So it was kind of cool to have that conversation. Like, anything we can do, I can do to help, and then it was kind of it's always a vice versa thing. So it's
we knew collaboration was going to be critical.
yeah,
Right, right. And the appreciate the consideration about stepping on my toes, but if you're stepping on there's plenty enough to go
Sure.
around. That's old school thinking.
Right.
That's a coveted mission field ministry mindset, and I have to win by defeating you. And I think I told you this too, and I came up under the win at all costs in business. And Ray Kroc allegedly said, because the older I get, the more I realize I may not have been taught the full picture, so allegedly until otherwise. But if your competitor's drowning, stick a hose in his throat.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So I want to be as big as Ray and the McDonald's, etc. And then all of a sudden this voice said, Rick, what about throwing him a life preserver?
right.
Oh, I forgot about that. So you can't step on my toes, and I'm on the cusp right now, and I'm going to give you this idea. Doing what I've done is I'm going to start what I call, for the lack of a better, somebody had said to me early on when I walked out of the radio station in December, and in January I literally, burned the ship. I was afloat somewhere, you know what I mean, and thought and with no direction home, literally. So I had a thought coming out of sleep, and it was, I don't need a radio station to do what I've always done. And then I got a call from Gary Faulkner, and he said, we miss you on the air, but do you realize you don't need a radio station to do what you've always done? Well, that's the cosmic confirmation, of two independent thoughts. So that being said, and that's what I've been doing since, that was January, and in March, I guess, started going on, and the streaming of the Rick's Mix Community Radio. Well, I don't need a TV station to do a TV station, not with 1080 HD. So I'm going to start the Lincoln Parish, City of Ruston Television Network. What's that? All things local, all things Lincoln. And then you're going to have your drop downs from there, from community events to obviously sports, but civics, nonprofits, which are going to call Checkpoint Charity. Not Checkpoint Charlie, we get Kill going over there. If you cross over here, we'll help you.
Right.
And so that'll apply to all things Union Parish. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I just want Lincoln Parish to help. And the technology is there, as you know, to just set up the.
Our thoughts, and I can see the collaboration where, as our paths constantly keep crossing over, because if we have someone and we know they're a good fit for your show, we're just a stop on and go, because the more it'd be crazy to think that our demographics and who's listening to ours, who's listening to yours are exactly the same, and we're repetitive, right?
Yeah.
But if we could just catch one person that sees ours, and now they see Rick, and now they come to Rick, then I consider job well done. You know what I mean? Like, that's the purpose.
Cooperation,
you know what I mean?
not competition at your expense. And if that's the case, we're looking at a small pool, not realizing the rest of the frickin' world's out there online to hear. And in my mindset, the allure of Louisiana, we will reach out across the country and points who knows where. And in all honesty, I'll say this in my Jersey flippancy, I don't care. Because, you know, again, you act, what was that phrase? Think global, act local.
Right.
Well, I'm going to act local and let global take care of itself. But they're going to be watching. They're going to be, you know, because we got something good here in North Louisiana. I mean, I ain't so naive that I don't recognize, quote unquote, the strife and the divide, diatribe out there in the country. But if there's a problem here, let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
And people are willing to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to see a lot more regional mindset over the last year than before. I mean, we started Louisiana Catalyst, and that had a regional deal. And so it was nice to sit. I was in the city of Monroe, and the mayor was having a conversation. He said, you know, if a big plant decides to move into West Monroe, would I be willing to invest to help make that company come? Absolutely, because I'd be insane to think that the workers and all those people are going to only live in West Monroe.
Right.
You know, they're going to employ people in Monroe, and those people are going to come over and spend money in Monroe. So it's nice that that's starting to come around, because, I mean, we started the Catalyst and Burn the Ship. When we first, like Burn the Ship, it was like, we have partners in Atlanta, right? So they're Burn the Ship ATL. And we were having this discussion, right?
Okay.
You know,
Okay,
so then we're like, do we do Burn the Ship Ruston? And I'm like, I want the whole state.
Yeah.
You know, because that's, you know, I don't want to just limit myself. I'm thinking, because our relationships cover so much. I mean, from the boxing club in New Orleans with WAP to, you know, our contacts in Shreveport with, you know, Sydney, to our deals in Monroe with the mayor and Friday Ellis, to Union Parish, and, you know, so it just made sense. Like, give us the whole state and let us run.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. And, you know, the state of Louisiana gets a whole lot of, we lead the nation in a whole lot of dubious statistics.
Sure.
And, you know, the one thing that blows my, well, one is not music. We lead the world in music. So, I mean, that's our calling card. But in the quote of this age of diversity, I mean, we don't need that lesson. We are the Creole state. Right. You know what I mean? And music is one of the common denominators of that. Culture is another one. Food's another one. So yeah, we got a lot to build on and to cooperate. We have a vibe here that I would dare say California doesn't have, Iowa doesn't have. You know, don't know much about. You know, well, Illinois might. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. We got something to build on, and there's plenty enough to go around.
100%. Yeah, it's so true. And even I'll even go. I don't know if there are many other states. I almost see Louisiana having almost. You could break it up into three very distinct areas. You know, you got North Louisiana, because I lived in South Louisiana, but I lived in Lafayette for a while, and I lived in Covington on the North Shore of New Orleans. That's two very different, you know, especially New Orleans. But New Orleans, you got kind of that Lafayette, the more Cajun lifestyle, and then you got North Louisiana. That's probably maybe more relatable to the part of Kentucky I'm from. Kind of the maybe, I don't know if country is the right word, but it's just a little. There's definitely three different dynamics going on.
Wildlife and hills, and
it's really cool to see and think about just the opportunity for that cross pollination. Rhett up with Rhett's in Farmerville, you know, he's from South Louisiana. He's bringing that culture up here to North Louisiana. That's just one example in how you know, just being able to grow that bubble of diversity. You know, it's cool to see it in action. So that's cool. I saw you pull that out. You read that too when I came and visited you on.
Well, I pulled that out for the Burn the Ships. You know, I mean, because obviously. Yep. You both know what Burn the Ships are, and maybe the audience knows or doesn't know, but that's up to you to tell. I'll share this with you as well, but I just wanted to pick up and follow up what Quentin said. And again, I think it comes out of this too. This is intention guides the culture. And so we're seeing a change in North Louisiana, be it on the political side, and I don't want to get political because by and large I'm a political atheist, but on the local level, your vote counts so much more than it does on the national level, so that's where I leave it. But we're seeing change, and that reflects the intention not only of an individual, because I think there's a scientific axiom, that which you focus on expands.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's your intention. So if I do that individually, okay, I'm influencing my reality. Well, if we do it as a group, and we're seeing that, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting you pointed up kind of the voting on a local level is more impactful than the national. And for some reason, we just had Danielle Day, owner of Doghouse, in here before you, and we were talking about when the sales tax increased to help fund the sports complex. And there was a lot of people, you can see on restaurants or whatever, that were so against it. And she talked about how much, and she was one of the naysayers early on, and then she saw the impact when in action.
right.
It helped her business in the
Right.
slow, when school's out, maybe things are a little more dead here. And she was like, I had to kind of stick my foot in my mouth because it's starting to show and come in, everything coming into fruition is super beneficial. So, and obviously the mayor was a big,
Well, oh yeah, he saw that. He sold that. No doubt about it. And
So it's
He
kind of
took that risk,
big time. Big time.
that's exactly when you said that was the first example that came to mind, and me and Daniel was talking about it, because it's easy to kind of, if it's things have been a certain way for a long time and then some change starts to happen, it creates a lot of friction,
Wait a second, I got another one too.
It's what I love about Rick. He's always got a lot.
The most damaging phrase in the language is, we've always done it this way. I was taught to think out of the box, and now you're calling me crazy for being out of the box.
Right.
Get in here. No, so we've always done it this way.
Right.
Well, and then what's the other one too? Allegedly, Henry Ford said, if I asked the people what they want, they would have said, we want a faster horse rather than the Model T.
Right.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
but we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
So did Radio Shack.
What's that?
It says, so did Radio Shack, and you see where that got.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Toys R Us.
Right.
Blockbuster, if we're
Right.
talking business,
Oh,
like
yeah,
if you
Blockbuster.
don't pivot and change and adapt, you will find yourself not
It's crazy to
existent.
think Blockbuster easily could have been Netflix.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what some of them businesses like. How did you miss that fork? You know what I mean, in the road, and should have been. That's when
in reality, it really-
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, you gotta have your barometer up and be willing to change. That's the burning the
Sure.
ship thing.
Yeah.
If you're not willing, there's even a proverb. I think it's Proverb 1. But we didn't want to, so it's a matter of want to. If you don't want to, then you're always going to do things the same way, and we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So,
Right.
yeah. Do you have shares of Blockbuster? You can save that for the fireplace in winter, right?
We actually have like an intro podcast, so we're going to dive into the media partnership, but we, just to kind of, and it'll funnel right into that,
All right.
So we, Cortez back in the, and I'll let you tell the story if you want, but I can't.
It's like the word for word.
Yeah, well, it's just like,
and
and when Cortez was exploring and they found new land and they were like, all right, we're gonna settle here and whatever. They literally burnt their ships with the notion that, hey, look, we're committed to this. We're gonna figure it out. There's no going back. And so you funnel that over into the entrepreneurial world, which when you say that, people think of a small business opening a retail shop. I mean, we talk to rappers or boxers or like yourself, that it's all under that same umbrella, right? Like you burnt your ship by getting out of the radio space and pursuing your own thing. You said, hey, I'll just figure it out, but I'm gonna do it, right? Because the root of it, the purpose of what you were doing is the same, but now it's a different medium.
Right.
Myself leaving Chevron as an engineer, and Q, even though he still got his 9 to 5 with the bank, he's not a conventional banker.
Right.
This is something that the bank gave him a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this is
Yeah.
not. You don't see that.
He's
in the
cute.
bank.
he's cute. It's his.
It's Quint. I'm so used to calling him Q. He's becoming, different.
Well, but, and then I think the burn the ship is more than just a business. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like this podcast. We can talk about it. We were talking. It's like even in your business, it's those decisions made when you say, you know what, enough talking. Action. It's an action call. You do it, and there's no turning back. It doesn't mean it's not gonna. It may not work. You know what I mean? But it's that pivot, and then keep trying. It's making those decisions and executing.
There's only one guarantee in that situation. It's 100% chance it won't work if you don't.
Right. Matter of fact, Van Morrison just put out an album, and immediately shot up to my favorite. Quit bitching and do something.
That's exactly.
I mean, it's an awesome song. I highly recommend it.
Check it out.
Yeah, so you can do rant clicks all day long, but to that point, if you're gonna sit back and criticize without getting in front and what I call criticize, be on the front side, and have others willing to listen. They may be kooky, crazy ideas, but you all know the creative how that works. The process, bring them out. Rather than sit back and criticize to the point of the sports complex. It's easy to be critical of higher taxes. Who doesn't get that? Right. But now, on this side, we see the benefit of it, and then share that as well. So, get involved. That's another thing. Part of my goal is bring information so people can get involved. So, without that information, then they sit back.
Right.
But some will always sit back,
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
The nature of the beast. Yeah.
And have a opinion.
But to the burn the ship thing, there used to be and I do feel sorry for the pig, but it makes a good analogy. The difference between commitment and involvement. The chicken's involved in breakfast, but the pig's committed. But we assume the pig volunteered. I'm not sure he really did.
Right. Allegedly.
Right, allegedly, I'll go first.
That's awesome.
What do you see your business evolving into? Where do you want to see it go?
A couple of things. One, and I want to give credit to the Salvation Army, whomever came up with doing the most good. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. All help, no hurt, then you're in. And so, but I've added efficiently, expediently, and effectively. So do the most good, efficiently, effectively, and expediently. So what does that mean? Business-wise, with the small mom and pop shop, help them to adapt and redirect too. For example, when I use Cotton Top, Cindy at single owner down there, hand printing T-shirts. Well, it's difficult for her to get people from the north side of the I-20 to come downtown. Okay. And then also, and I've been to the downtown meetings for downtown merchants. What do we do about Amazon? We don't do anything about Amazon.
Right.
We get one at a time, and then build an online presence of downtown so that Cindy can sell her shirts to the north side of Ruston. Matter of fact, my planner, and I'm all about the new locals supporting locals first. Well, yeah, what was it? The biggest waste of money and time was your annual planner for what year? 2020, right?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so for 2021, I used to be a huge Franklin planner. Plan your work your plan, etc. So, but I said, you know what? I burned the ship, so I better get a ship's log to write down things in case we. So I did, and so I told Kathy. I said, I'd rather than go to Office Depot, I said, no, just order one online, and she did. Came the next day from Office Depot.
Right.
So anyway, my point is, where do I see it go? Is to help the mom and pop shops, to help the marketing of the charities, the nonprofit organizations, because they need help desperately, to help this area, the region, and of just market itself and do the most good. It's not rocket science, and in this day and age of connectivity, we're not connected.
Right.
we're fragmented.
Right.
And so maybe putting a little local face and voice to this and shining the mic and the spotlight on the store, the cause, the event, amidst all the cacophony we're involved in. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
In a quality
and
way.
I appreciate it. I say so much because even so I take Union and Farmville, and even down to the individual level, everybody lives in their own silos, right? They're the most important thing to themselves, and the communications are you would think that this entity would talk to this entity, and they're discussing what they're doing, and then you find out no one's talking to anyone. You know, we were at a grand opening or a kind of private event that grand opened today for Kick Their Own's Ambassador, and I told the owner, Coop, he was in a shopping center that was kind of just off the side of the road, and so he's moving into a main street building. I said, you're going to be shocked for the next year how many people come in and say, oh, you're new here.
Right.
And he's like, I've been here for 5 years, you know, and you're going to get that because everybody's just so used to their own little paths, doing the same thing, and so that connectivity is important. And so that's what I'm very appreciative of your efforts, because that's something that gets frustrating, because it's like, you know, how do people not, and it goes back to, you think that people do their own day to day and just get caught up in their moments, and you know, collaboration is a dying breed, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, another message too is I and others, we have to be intentional. Back to that intent. So what do you mean by that, Rick? Rather than be, what's the lack of a better word, just droned out, zoided out, but looking at this, oh, that's right, I got to shop local. Give the local side a chance first. Be intentional in that effort. Make every effort, you know. So, and if you just try it once and get another one to do it, that's how we'll grow organically and exponentially.
Yep. That's a really good point. And kind of going back to that, I think it's almost human nature to sort of have a guard up if you're in that world. And like you said, it's that I see someone as competition.
Those days are over, man.
Yeah,
They've got to be over.
It's like, well, why? Just
generational wise, they got to be over.
It's try it one time. Try and go cooperate with someone that you see as competition, and just see how that relationship blossoms and helps both businesses. You know.
Well,
I mean?
think about this, and you talked about log cabin. You know, I've seen, you know, the restaurant business, competitive. Hunger's coming back around tomorrow. You know,
right.
So I mean, you're never going to be for lack of hunger's coming back. You know, the car that you buy, well, you're good for 5 years on that one. So, yeah, it's got to be cooperation and what I call striations, generational striations, let alone quote racial striations. Give me a break, folks. Matter of fact, there's a great song out there, "Would You Take My Blood?" That will break through the superficial barrier of skin into the life. Anyway, I don't mean to go off there real quick, but you know, whatever we think divides us, and having that guard up, come on, what are you guarding?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I look at this, what we're doing too, as an opportunity to sort of congregate, you know, or cross-pollinate what is perceived as, you know, whether it be racial or just any kind of demographic divide. It's like, you know, if I can go to Coop, for example, you know, a black-owned business in Bastrop, but if somebody can give him a platform beyond his internal platform to share his story,
right,
and somebody, you know, out of Ruston sees it, like, dang, that's crazy, that's a really cool story. What is, you know, they might be more likely to go and spend $1 with somebody like that. So, and even I think you can see it with Grambling and Ruston. Just, I'm not from here, so I'm able to look at it from an outsider's perspective. I think there's a lot of opportunity to. There seems to be a little bit when there shouldn't be. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of good that is there.
At least there's a willingness. Back to the want.
Sure.
If folks don't want to talk, nothing's ever going to happen.
Anyhow, yes, I know we're excited about the opportunity, and then I mean, from day one, I know when we first brought Easy Rider, you were, you know, one of our biggest, if not the biggest supporter. You know, anything I can do to help. And so I know personally, and I probably speak for you too, is, you know, we're grateful to have a friendship with you, but also, you know, it's been cool to see you also evolve and what you have going on and burning the ship as well. So it's yeah, man.
Want me to read this before we?
That'd be a perfect exit.
Yeah.
I remember you reading that off to me. That's
Johann Wolfgang van Goethe allegedly said, I don't believe everything I think anymore.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, you'll think, wait a second. But I had this somewhere in my past, and then it just resurfaced recently, and I'm just going to read it. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there's one elementary truth, that ignorance of which kills countless of ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, i.e. burn the ship, no, we ain't going back that way anymore. So until, where'd that colon? I lost my train of thought. Oh, here it is. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that never otherwise would have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, rising in one's favor, all manner of unforeseen incidents. And that's where people need to stop. Well, yeah, that wouldn't have happened if I never had unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no one could have dreamed would have come his way. And this is it. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. And we thought Nike said just do it. Well, they did say it, but
that's a universal truth.
Yeah, we need to put that in frame it up.
Here's your old copy. I brought a copy for the archives.
That's awesome. Yeah, when you read that, that was super powerful. That's what we're doing, you know. It's, we're in the mix of it. So what's going on? What you got going on moving forward? What we'll share your social media pages, all the information.
No. Wait, because I'm serious about this. You are we off? Are we still on?
We're always rolling.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah.
I got time if you got time. Speaking of transition, I still help out some terrestrial radio. It still has a market, but how do I want to say this? Traditionally, it used to be on Friday nights on any radio station they would sell football, you know, and sell sponsorship. The community would sponsor the football, and the football gets announced, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. Well, recently I was talking with a friend of mine, Mike Danauer. He's a traditional radio, Stevens Media Group in Monroe. And he goes, you heard about Neville and Neville football? I said, no, what? Well, Neil Shaw, who's been here forever, he's been a Neville graduate, doing high school football. So this is transition. And he said, well, they're not going to carry the games anymore. Why not? Because they brought it in-house. Who brought it in-house? Neville set up their own Tiger network, and it's 1080 HD, and it's the technology is there. And I'm sharing this with you and everybody because that's what I'm bringing to Ruston, Lincoln Parish. Not sports first, but that's going to happen. And we're talking about the graphics of ESPN on a high school football level. So so he flipped it, and so now the sponsors are supporting the Neville Tiger Network, and so as opposed to paying the radio stations and school may or may not get money, they got recognition.
Right.
Well, then now it got flipped, and two things are happening. The revenue is staying in-house, and then B, he's training up producers, student producers, training up announcers. You know, is he getting a phone call? Or?
No. Rocking out.
Rocking out
for the producers.
Oh, it's rocking out for the producers. Oh,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I'm seeing some funny signs over there. I haven't seen the middle finger yet. So, anyway, part of what I'm doing is the streaming issue. So, in my learning curve is my music's going to a cloud right now. Rick's Mix Community Radio is on the air 24/7. But people, again, think the personality, when are you on, Rick? Well, it's on. It's the voice and the vibe of the community. I need people to go and give me feedback and listen and make this part of your listening. Then I'll figure out when I'll be on, but usually I'm on in the morning, etc. So I say all that streaming. So I'm floating the songs up to the cloud, and now it's coming down, and I'm paying some company in England to do that.
Right.
Well, I want to bring that all in. So, and I've always been the ATL, all things local, all things Lincoln.
Right.
And that's just where I want to be. So I'm in the process, literally, of setting up, and these are the categories I see. Because in this day and age, and I use Portico as an example, wherever you go out to eat, hey, put on the game. What game? Blah blah Fox. They'll go to it. So, hey, put on the game. What game? Cedar Creek. What's it on? The ATL network. What's that? Oh, okay. There it is. So it's not a TV station, but it's on the monitor. And so I see these as categories. Once you get people there, ATL business, what's in your store with Rick Godley? We go in there, we just give them just a little 7-minute feature and create episodes. ATL real estate, ATL sports, of which I have Buddy Ball. Do you know about Buddy Ball? That's a whole nother. We'll tell you about that. Ruston High School, Cedar Creek, Lincoln Prep, and the Ruston Sports Complex. ATL events, fairs, festivals, the rodeo is a whole frickin' universe of people.
Right.
That's overlooked.
What?
I feel like that might be one that's overlooked the most.
Very much so, and they'd be so appreciative.
Yeah.
ATL Makers and Music channel. So you're going to have Rick's Mix Community Radio. I want to start, and I've already started one, not Austin City Limits. You know what that is? Have you seen that?
Yes.
Ruston City Limits, which is music out of Austin. And so you come in and you film the first. Did you film the first? What my goal is to film it, and in the kind of like a remote, so other people can come out to watch the rest of the show and build, but then also archive it. So we just come back and see Trey Gotro when he was All Things Art, Maker Spotlight, church streaming services, ATL nonprofits, Checkpoint Charity. I mean, you got so many. You still have Broken Wings up there,
Yep.
Yeah. Here's the thing. These nonprofit charities are doing a noble work, and I'm going to use the word, but in a strict dictionary sense, they're retarded in their marketing because they don't think like the way marketing principles work.
Right.
They're thinking with the heart of doing the mission and the ministry. So therefore, they have this, I don't know how it developed, an expectancy that people give to them, and
Right.
people do give to them.
Right.
But then they lose sight of how do we effectively market ourselves. Well, we're here to help, and I've started up a nonprofit this very week. Godly Works for nonprofits. ATL Ruston, Everyday Excellence means excellence every day. ATL Education, Lincoln Parish, ATL Outdoors, and then ATL Talk Shows, local podcasts. I mean, you're doing it.
Yeah.
And Ruston Rant Radio. Hello, is a caller? Is a caller there? And my criteria would be two things. A, I encourage non-anonymity. If you're gonna own it, own it.
Yeah.
Let's walk in transparency and take it to grow from. And then two, don't just criticize. What's your alternative? And
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, back it up with a suggestion or
that's
something.
right. That's right. So yeah, they'll give you your chance to rant. But
That's
anyway,
awesome.
these are just ideas.
That's-
So you
that's
asked.
cool.
And,
That would get a lot of attention, I feel like.
oh heck yeah! I mean, and then yeah. So
For sure.
I love it.
Well, man, as always, appreciate your time. It's
Oh, yeah.
always good just to catch up,
anytime,
chop
please.
it up, see what you got going on. You night and day from the last time I saw you. That was what, maybe
A
3
month
months
ago.
ago.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
it wasn't that long ago. I don't even know. You might have already had that stuff in the works, but the vision you have is awesome.
No. It's all just kind of
just organically happening.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate you taking a little bit of time to come hang out with us at the Burn the Ship podcast, and look forward to having you on again and seeing some of these as a reality, and we'll do a little check-in, see what else you got going on. So
Oh yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you on the flip side.